Hey guys, I'm Cassie, and today we're going to talk about school supplies and study tips. We'll get into the school supplies first, and then I'll go through my study tips, which happen to be very good ones because I am a good student. Okay. I'm in post-secondary, so it's a little more open-ended for me. I still have one of these. It only has a few things in it. Highlighters. I get a lot of use out of these. They're all going to mean different things when I'm highlighting, and it's kind of like hotkeys when you're playing video games on your computer. You just have to have different colors that mean different things so you can study as quickly as possible. It's all about cutting time. And I also got these little things as well, so I can flag pages that I think are very important. You know, if you don't want to mark up your textbook because you want to sell it back, these are very, very handy. So that's one side of it. I don't have many school supplies because I just don't really see the point. The other one just has a ton of pens. What I look for in a pen when I'm buying school supplies is the ink just has to fall right out of it, so it doesn't take much effort to write, otherwise my hand gets very tired. If you're writing a final exam and it's an essay, then you want the ink to flow like a bear. I use pens because in post-secondary people don't really use pencils, and beside that I'm left-handed and I make a big massive mess if I am using a pencil just because my hand drags across the page, so pens are my best friend and they always have been. The next thing is an agenda, and usually I get one from the school, but I just couldn't wait to get one this year, so I bought a really cute one from Staples. I get good use out of my agendas, and you should too. It's so easy, especially if you have a full course load, to forget what's due next week and what's due today. Use an agenda, it's important. I've got 4 coiled scribblers, definitely the way to go if you're lazy and you just want things to be organized. The reason why I got the really tiny ones is because our semesters are only 4 months. Also, when you get your books, it's gonna be very, very heavy, so you're gonna want something as light as possible. You don't want big giant binders. You also want to get the ones that like have these little ridges here so you can rip them out in case the professor wants you to hand them in. My last school supply that I'm going to show you is this folder. Now I got a really pretty one. The girly side of me took over when I saw it and I really wanted it, and basically what I'm going to do with this thing is unfinished homework is going to go here and finished homework is going to go here. Very simple. I'm going to mix up all the subjects in here. I'm also getting a calculator, but graphing calculators are over $100, so I'm trying to get a cheap one on Craigslist. I also keep a stapler as well, but I don't take it to school. I just leave it at home. If you hand in unstapled work, then that's just rude. That's it for school supplies. On to study tips. Like I said before, university or college is all about strategizing. So the first week you're in class, I highly recommend to make friends with somebody, get their phone number, because you never know if you're gonna get sick, if you're gonna need notes. If you don't really understand something, you guys can talk to each other. Just a dialogue about what you're learning is a very important thing to have, so always try to make friends. My first year in college, I kind of just didn't really talk to anybody, and it didn't work out to my advantage. Try to talk to people and try to be social, get some phone numbers, and it will be awesome. My second study tip is probably the most important. Find out at the beginning of the course what the format of the exam is. Is it going to be a long essay, short answer, long answer, multiple choice? The way you study is going to depend on the format of the test. The times when you study so hard and you get a B- and you're like, what, I should have got an A, it's probably because you weren't studying right. Okay, so this is what I do for each format of test, and this really works for me. I don't know if it's gonna work for you, but with no false sense of modesty, I get pretty good grades. So if it's a multiple choice test, what I do is I scan the reading, I highlight it, everything that you find important, and then physically write out notes of what you highlighted, and then you're gonna have this stack of notes that you made and then study the notes. Study the notes every single day before the test. That's the thing with post-secondary, you're gonna have to put time in every single day. I study for at least 2 to 3 hours a day. It's the only way, and it's just important to really keep the content fresh in your mind. And it's cool to have this pile of notes because you can keep them in a big pile, and then when final exam time comes, you can study all of your notes and just have a cumulative knowledge of the entire course. By the time the exam rolls around, you should have read over the notes that you made at least 10 times, because multiple choice is all about retrieval. It's not about just merely memorizing as much as it is you reading it and then your brain being like, I've seen this before. So just read those things as much as possible. Now this is only good for multiple choice. It's not necessarily the best study method for other tests, but for multiple choice, I always do extremely well, and that is my method. If the exam is an essay style exam or an exam where you have to do a lot of writing based on what you've learned, I found that the most effective way to study is to meet up with a bunch of people in a study group and just talk about the content. The more you can really recite what you're learning without much provoking, the better off you're going to be on an essay. The essay is probably going to ask you some ambiguous question, and you're going to have to really specify and give a short and concise recollection of everything you've learned. So the more you talk about these things, the more you're probably going
going to get into arguments. You're probably going to think critically about what you're saying. People like to impress each other when they're in study groups, and that's a really positive thing. If you guys are giving each other all of your best tidbits of information, then that is just going to compile into a wealth of knowledge. Try to pick people who seem active in the class, people who are always raising their hands, and just people who care about the content, people who find it interesting. The easiest way to get through post-secondary is to find the content interesting. And if you don't find it interesting, ask someone who finds it interesting why it's interesting. That's a really good way to just learn what it is about this reading that made people think, that changed their lives. I took an archaeology course and I thought it was the most boring thing in the world until I met a bunch of people who really loved what they were doing, and I couldn't help but be really interested in it as well. Another thing that's really important for an essay exam is to read with purpose. Don't just read openly and be like, oh, what do I think is interesting about this? Take the course outline and focus on what are the key themes of this course. Right when you know what the key themes of the course are, go to the reading and try to relate every single thing you read to the themes of the course. That way, when the final exam comes up, you're not just going to have your own ideas of what you've read, you're going to have the ideas that the professor wants you to profess. The other thing about the essay format exam is you really just have to know how to write an essay. I don't have the time to teach you how to write an essay, but just remember it's supposed to be short and concise, and the reader is supposed to know within the first paragraph what exactly your argument is. A lot of universities give free writing workshops and stuff like that, so I highly recommend you take advantage of them. I did not learn anything in high school, and I hate to say that because it probably sounds offensive. Maybe it's just my school curriculum. I handed in my first essay in college thinking it was going to be amazing, and I didn't do very well. Learn how to write an essay, it's very important. There is a standardized way that you should be writing. In the first year of university, you might be a little bit shocked at the volume of work you're going to have to be going through because you're just going to have to learn so many things.
Don't get worried if you screw up your first essay. You can still get an A even if you screwed up the first essay, in my experience. The first little assignments and stuff like that, that is just to test you and make sure that you're on the right track. My study tip for mathematics is quite straightforward. Do every single problem of every single chapter. Don't just do the hardest problem and think you know everything. You probably won't, and you're probably going to screw up on the easy ones. Do every single problem. Don't look at the answer key until you're sure. Once you look at the answer key, it's gonna screw up your brain because you only have so many problems to practice with. Unlike essay writing, which is social and you can talk to people about it, math is something that you do in solitude. It's something that you do in a quiet room by yourself and just try to learn the concepts. It's difficult, but practice really, really helps. The more you practice, the more you will understand. That's what I found with math anyway. A lot of people don't want to do math, and a lot of people don't want to do science because that stuff is hard. That's not to say that other subjects aren't hard, but a lot of doors will open if you're good at math, so don't give up on math. I did the bare minimums of math in high school, and I had to go back and do pre-calculus just because I realized it's important, and it's actually a very, very fulfilling discipline. With the sciences, you have to start small and build your knowledge base based on that, because you can't understand the big picture without knowing exactly how the little things work. Pay attention in the first part of the semester, otherwise you're gonna get a question and you're not really going to understand why, and it's gonna become memorization at that point, which is too difficult. So memorization is not a good thing. Understanding is key in the sciences. When you move on to bigger things, then you can just have a very, very concise view of the bigger picture. Visit the professor during office hours, especially when you're getting into the later years where the class sizes are small. You want your professor to know you. You want to have a relationship with your professor. You want your professor to see the growth that you had from the beginning till the end of the semester. The relationships you make in university are very, very important, especially if you want to go to grad school and you need someone to write a letter for you, or if you just want the professor to understand where you're coming from or to give you personalized advice. I always go and see my professors during office hours. I want them to help me because they care about me and because we have a relationship and because they know me. When you're in university or college, nobody's going to babysit you. There's no bell that goes off when it's class time. There's no attendance. You can skip all of the classes if you want to. You really just have to take everything into your own hands and make the most of your experience. You're paying tuition, so don't skip class. Just try to make the most of your experience. University is kind of like your first step into the real world, and it's really cool because you get what you put in and you can really control your destiny at that point. You can really choose what you want to major in and how well you're going to do, and if you come out on top, then all the doors are going to be open and it's going to be awesome. Everyone is going through the same grind and everyone is having the same struggles. Just come out on top. I mean, it's only going to be 4 short years of your undergrad, so 4 probably sounds like a lot.
lot to you guys, but it's really not a long time. Everything you need to succeed is right in front of you. There's no secret to success. Just spend a lot of time with the material, and I don't know if a lot of you are going to agree with me on this, but I truly believe that it's not about natural ability or how smart you are innately. I truly believe that it's about how hard you try. So just try really hard.
If you're going to be in school, do it right, because why would you do it otherwise?
Thank you so much for watching, and
Make sure to give me a thumbs up if you found this useful.
I hope you guys have fun in college or university or whatever post-secondary institutions that you're in,
And I will see you in class. Bye.